morning, whatever time you're watching this. Welcome back to Travelling Box with me, Tanya, and yeah, I am so cold, it's ridiculous. The temperature hasn't moved above 0 degrees this morning, this afternoon or this evening, so I am just really cold. The central heating is working full bore, but I still cannot get that chill out of my bones. So it's the perfect evening to be cooking something warming, deliciously warming. So I am cooking today a chili con fake carne pie. Yeah, rather a mouthful. Basically a chili con carne, but without the meat, using fake meat instead. And the fact that it's a pie is I should be serving it as a shepherd's pie kind of thing, but using butternut mash on top, because butternut's really lovely and sweet, and if you mash it, it's gorgeous and smooth. So creating kind of like a shepherd's pie or a cottage pie bake dish, with the lovely spicy chili at the bottom that combines really nicely with butternut, which is one of my favourite things in the world entirely. So the ingredients you're going to need are obviously mince. If you want to use meat that's actual animal, then by all means do that. I will be using this one. Some mixed peppers, onion, tinned chopped tomatoes, tinned kidney beans, garlic, tomato puree, a vegetable stock cube, but if you're using meat, then by all means use a beef stock cube. Some butternut, obviously. Now I am absolutely cheating on this one. I adore butternut, adore it. I cannot stand preparing it. Peeling a butternut, it is just absolute pain in the backside, so I cheat. And I buy frozen butternut squash pieces, which works brilliantly well. And for the spices, you're going to need chili powder. Now I have to use a mild chili powder because I've got a 10-year-old to feed, but by all means use a hot chili powder if you'd like more punch and fire. Some paprika, ground cumin and Worcester sauce. So that's what you'll need for this recipe. Now, there are two ways of looking at this meal. Firstly, if you want to make it in the Caravan itself, then you're going to need 2 hot plates and the oven. Or you can do, as I often do with these types of things that need an oven bake as well, is pre-prepare them. This is a really good meal to pre-prepare, bulk cook and stick in the freezer, which is exactly what I'm doing today. Oh, those onions have made my eyes water so badly. Someone needs to invent something that stops onions from making your eyes hurt. They really do. Non-cry onions. We really need them. Please. So yes, I've got the water boiling or bringing up to the boil over there, all ready for the butternut chunks. And that's the packet of them there. I'm going to use a whole packet today. It won't be enough for all of the mince that I'm going to create, but basically this is a chili con carne. So what doesn't get made into the pies will then be frozen into portions ready to be served up with rice. So of course that's another option. If you want to ignore the butternut aspect entirely, then this pot's just going to be the chili, which of course is traditionally served with just plain boiled rice, and equally as lovely that way, but this is just a different take on things. So yes, if you were to pre-prepare this, stick it in the freezer, and then just as we did with the lasagna and the moussaka, defrost it and then pop it in your oven in the Caravan. Alternatively, you don't have to bake it at all. If you just create the mash and the chilli, they can be served separately equally as well. But I do like them as a bake, and just like a shepherd's pie or a cottage pie. This is just a different take on that, and I rather like it. So once I've got the butternut squash on the boil, I've heated up the oil, and now I'm going to add the onions and just saute those for a couple of minutes before I add the peppers and the garlic and the mince. Now remember, if you're using plant-based mince as I am, it won't brown in the same way that animal-based mince will, and will not take as long to cook either. So you don't need to spend as long waiting for it to brown, because, well, quite frankly, it won't brown. But you do want to warm it through and break it up before you add the rest of the ingredients. Once you're happy that the meat, onions, peppers and garlic are cooked through enough, you can add the chopped tomatoes and the kidney beans. I'm going to add the tomatoes first. And then the kidney beans. Now once you've got all of that mixed together, you want to start adding the fun bit, all of the spices. And I'm going to start with the chili powder. Grab myself a teaspoon, and I'm going to add, to start with, because you can always taste test and add more later, a teaspoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of paprika, and a teaspoon of ground cumin. That really gives that smell and flavour of the chilli that we've all come to know and love. Mix that all together. And I'm also now going to add the vegetable stock cube. And I'll just lob that in there. And a great big splodge of tomato puree. probably about 1.5 tablespoons of that. Oh, that smells so good. Yeah. At this stage, I won't add the Worcester sauce. I want this to simmer for around about 10 minutes, just to allow all of those flavours to really infuse into the meat. So I'm going to cover that up, reduce that heat down to around about 2 or 3, just to allow that really to spend time getting those flavours infused. In the meantime, I'm going to check this butternut. Which is now cooked through, nice and soft and ready to be mashed. And now it's time to add the Worcester sauce. With Worcester sauce, I never really do measurements. It's all about taste. So splodge some in, but be sparing. It's very easy to put too much in of Worcester sauce, and it's very much to individual taste. I love it, but I don't like too much. So put some in and give it a good stir through. And then taste. Right. Now's the time to decide what else it needs, and it definitely needs more chilli. And as ever, it's all about stirring through and tasting, and stirring through and tasting. It's like a big experiment. It is smelling gorgeous. We're getting there. A little bit more. When you've got kids, you've got to be so careful not to over spice things. It's really frustrating. Now you'll notice that with the butternut, I added sunflower based spread to it. You could also add butter or margarine or anything that you want. It just gives it a nice creaminess. And quite often I will use butter, but this particular meal is vegan, so I'm not adding anything that's dairy to it. Every so often I'll do that. But I also made it quite wet. And there's a very good reason for that, because we're going to bake the chilli and the butternut. That's going to dry it out, and I really don't want a really dry butternut topping, so making it slightly wetter will help that process. Really nice. to my taste, I would have a bit more chilli, or I would have gone straight to my hot chilli that's in the cupboard and never gets used anymore. But that's certainly tasty enough to do. Yeah, just a couple of minutes there, and then we'll be ready to dish up into our pots. If you were going to serve this just as a chilli on its own, I'd give it another 10 minutes. But because I'm going to be baking it, I'm only going to give it a minute or so more, just to get those flavours really infused through, because it's going to be cooked in the oven along with the butternut. So I really don't want to overcook everything now, because what we'll end up with then is just mush, and nobody wants mush. But yes, how are you all? I've been having a lovely weekend. My son and I, we put our Christmas decorations up, so our tree is up in the lounge, and some peripheral little bits and pieces around the house just to keep him happy. I've got to be honest, I wouldn't have bothered this year. Not really been feeling it, but when you've got a child, it's all about them, Christmas, isn't it? So yeah, the decorations are up, and yesterday we made mince pies together. My son did all the rolling out of the pastry, and blobbed in the mincemeat into each one. So yes, and of course the obligatory snowballs were imbibed, which, for those of you who don't know, basically Advocaat lemonade. They do have to have cocktail cherries in, which I think is my son's favourite bit. His snowballs are minimal Advocaat, but these are the things that shape our childhood memories, aren't they? And I remember having little snowballs as a child when we put up our Christmas decorations, and I've carried that tradition through. And speaking of memories, if anyone's got an iPad or an iPhone, you'll know that occasionally it will throw up memories from your photo and video albums, and mine has been doing that recently, which has really made me smile. I've got videos from various holidays, and so what I've decided to do is the whole Throwback Thursday thing. So starting from this Thursday, just for a few weeks, we're going back to previous holidays before we had our caravan and before we had a YouTube channel, so there's none of me talking in it. Just photos and little videos that I took just for our own personal memories, and I thought I'd share them. I forget which one we've got coming this Thursday. It might be West Runton in Norfolk, in a tent, as my son and I used to holiday. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for our Throwback Thursday videos that will be uploaded and viewable from Thursday. Time to dish up, and just as before with the moussaka recipe, I'm going to use these individual sized foil trays because these are perfect portion size. So I shall be putting the chilli mixture on the bottom and then putting the butternut squash on the top, ready to bake or pop in the freezer. Hello, beautiful.
So did you make it yourself?
Who else is going to make it?
I thought you just got out of a pack.
Why would I get it out of a pack if I've been out in the kitchen cooking for an hour?
Ah. Well, it's very nice, Mummy.
Good. Do I ever get anything out of a pack?
Except rice.
I don't know if I'm doing fried rice.
I think not. And also cheese. But when you're doing a cheese.
Can't make cheese.
No.
Do I have a churner and a cow? Can't make cheese then, can I?
Alright. And you'll also need heats to kill the germs off.
So what is that?
It's a butternut shepherd's pie.
What about the meat aspect?
And mint.
What's in it?
Cow mince.
Is it?
Cow mince.
Is it?
What is it then?
Why is your elbow on the table?
Sorry, what is it then?
Do we eat cows? Should I start cooking meat again?
No. I was saying fake.
Right.
But what is it actually?
What else should you know?
Pepper? Chopped tomatoes? Kidney bean? I think that's it.
You know there's chilli in there?
No.
Can't you taste any chilli?
No.
I'm going to start making my chillies a lot hotter. I bet you can. You just don't differentiate. Next time I add a chilli, I'm going to start using hot chilli powder. See if you can taste it then.
Or it will blow off my head. Just kidding.
What do you think of it?
Good. Delicious.
What score would you give it out of 10?
That's the video one, but it's still a draw. I guess everything's a draw.
Oh no, the moussaka was only an 8.
Yes, no, except that. Except the moussaka, it's a draw, a tie with everything.
So would you rather have this or lasagna?
Both.
Can't have both, you can only eat one at a time.
I don't know, really. I guess I just like my food.
Yeah, I know you do, but if you had to choose just one,
I think this.
well, not so much in your mouth at once would be good.
It's quite sweet.
The butternut's lovely and sweet, isn't it? Butternut's one of my favourite things. Did you know that?
I guess because it's sweet. Mummy, now I know a fact. In the war, Mr. Lewis told me, is this true that soldiers used carrots, Mummy?
Used carrots for what?
I guess energy.
Carrots are very good for energy.
Because,
And vitamin C.
Yes. Sugar.
And fibre. Yep.
Because of all the bombs dropping on planes.
Anything that is sweet contains natural sugars. So that butternut has got lots of sugar in it.
And it could be used in a war.
Of course it could.
It might have done, Mummy.
It did. Carrots are very easy and cheap to produce, so they were plentiful.
And was there? Is this cheap to make?
Cheap? Not really.
Okay.
But it's not bad. Not as cheap as a McDonald's.
Mm-mm.
It is much, much better for you.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. For this week, a chili confit carne butternut pie. We need a better name for it. What should we call it? Quickly.
I don't know.
I don't know. Pie.
Probably delicious pie.
Delicious pie. Okay. Should we go for I don't know pie or delicious pie?
Delicious pie.
Delicious pie. That's multifunctional, shall we call it? With the whole pack of butternut, that was enough for the 2 portions of this pie as I made it today. The rest of the mince has now gone in the freezer because that's really useful for a later date to be eaten either with the boiled rice or on a baked potato with cheese sprinkled on top, which is always good. But yeah, a lovely easy recipe. If you're just making the chili on its own, that's really easy to make in the Caravan. But if you're making it as a bake, as I have done today, then I would pre-make it, because I do think that it's time consuming otherwise, because you've then got the hob and we've got to simmer it and then we've got to bake it, and yeah, that's been about an hour and a half of cooking today just to make this, which is too long when you're on holiday. So pre-making it and taking it with you is absolutely fine. But yes, look out for this Thursday's video, which is our holiday when we went to West Runton in Norfolk in our tent. You didn't know I'd done that, did you? You got that to look.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? It was only 2 years ago. Actually, it was last year.
I don't remember.
And this is why we need videos to remind ourselves, especially our children, of the holidays that we've spent money taking them on. Anyway, love you lots, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Is that gone already? Why do I bother cooking things with flavour? You don't even taste it.